Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Minneapolis City Planning Commission meeting of January 26, 2015. My name is Ted Tucker. I serve as president of the Planning Commission. Joining me today are Commissioners Gagnon, Brown, Gisselman, Slack, and Forney. At this time, please be sure any electronic devices you have with you are on silent. The first item on our agenda is to approve the actions from the meeting of January 12th, 2015.
So moved.
Okay, moved. A second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Okay, those actions are approved. Next item is to approve the agenda. That is to sort out the 6 items we have and determine which we will put on the consent agenda, which will be approving it as recommended by staff in the agenda without further discussion or continue it. I don't think we'll have any of those, or discuss it. So let me go through these one by one and then we'll see where it goes on the agenda. First item is Mill City Quarter, 300 2nd Street South, 101 3rd Avenue South, and 428 2nd Street South. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item number 1? If not, we'll put that on consent. Item number 2 are street vacations for portions of 4th Street South and 5th Street South. Again, anyone here to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation for item number 2? I don't see anyone. We'll put that on consent. Item number 3 is Fiant Dental Sign, 3225 Lindale Avenue South. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to or modify staff recommendation for item number 3? No? Okay. Item number 4 is Boone Trucking U-Haul at 1516 Marshall Street Northeast. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item number 4? Anyone from item number 4 wanting to contest the staff recommendation? If not, we'll put that on consent and approve it per staff recommendation. Okay. Item number 5 is Bonicelli at 1901 Fillmore Street Northeast. Again, is anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation for item number 5? Okay, we will put that on our discussion list. And finally, item number 6 is 602 Residences at 602, 602 a half, 606 North 1st Street. Again, anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendation on item number 6? Anyone on item 6? Okay, that will go on consent. So what I have is one item for discussion. That's item number 5. We'll have a staff report, brief, and public hearing, and then we will discuss and decide. And the other items, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 will be put on the consent agenda and pass without further discussion. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Thank you very much. That is our agenda. Next, we have a report from the Committee of the Whole. Vice President Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. At our January 15th Committee of the Whole meeting, we considered a number of items. First, a land sale at 1418 Sheridan Avenue North. We found that sale of that property is consistent with the comprehensive plan. We also considered several other land sales as part of the Green Homes North program. I'll read those addresses: 2915 4th Street North, 2945 Bryant Avenue North, 3607 Bryant Avenue North, 2627 DuPont Avenue North, 3519 DuPont Avenue North, 3539 Fremont Avenue North, 2719 Irving Avenue North, 2517 James Avenue North, 2958 Knox Avenue North, 3011 Knox Avenue North, 3100 Newton Avenue North, 2027 Russell Avenue North, and 3115 Sheridan Avenue North, and also found that those property sales are consistent with the comprehensive plan. We also considered appointments to the Board of Adjustment and considered appointments of Anya Drescher, Matt Perry, and Jacob Softly, and approved those appointments. So I'm going to move approval of all three of those items.
Okay, moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the report from the Committee of the Whole? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. No action item. We turn now to the public hearings. First, I will open the public hearing again on the items that we believe will be on the consent agenda, items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So the public hearing is open. Again, anyone wishing to speak on any one of these 5 items, please let us know now. If there is no one, we will close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion to approve those 5 items as recommended by staff. So moved. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I don't see any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, those 5 items are approved. We turn now to our one item for discussion, item number 5, which is Bonicelli at 1901 Fillmore Street Northeast. And staff report will come from Hillary Dvorak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is an item before you for property located at 1901 Fillmore Street Northeast. This is a proposal to exchange the existing grocery store in the building to a restaurant. And the restaurant does want to seek a beer and wine license. In order to do that, the property would need to be zoned commercial. So the applications before you then are a rezoning from the R2B zoning district to the C1 zoning district, a variance of the enclosed building standards to allow outdoor grilling, and then a variance to reduce the minimum drive aisle width from 22 feet down to 12 feet 11 inches. So as you can see on the overhead, or on the zoning map, excuse me, the property is located amongst a large area of R2B zoning. There is commercial zoning towards Central Avenue and then also towards Johnson Avenue. Central is to the west and Johnson is to the east. There are commercial nodes and high-intensity uses located along both of those streets, but this is a primarily residential building, however, or neighborhood, I should say, but however, this is a mixed-use building and it has been a mixed-use building since the late 1800s, early 1900s. This property started off as 1901 Fillmore and then 1907 Fillmore. Each had a residential structure on it, and over time they were joined together by commercial establishments, and that commercial establishment became one use, and currently now the grocery store. So this is the site plan. Sorry, let me orient this. So this is the site plan. The the restaurant, excuse me, would be located in this area. These are the existing apartments, and then there are second floor apartments in the building. There's an existing garage on the property that will remain. The grills that the applicant would be proposing to use would be located here towards the interior of the building. It is, since all of the additions have been done, it is shaped like a C, so those would be concealed by the building itself. The applicant has indicated that several times during the week grilling would be done, and the applicant is actually here and can speak to this in more detail. And then in the winter, it would just be on occasion. The parking spaces that they want to add are located in this corner of the site off of that public alley on the block. The drive aisle requirement would be 22 feet. So if you added an additional 10 feet on, or almost 10 feet onto that, the parking would have come well into the middle of the site. And since it is off of the alley, instead of adding more impervious surface to the site, they thought they would take advantage of that existing alleyway, still having 12 feet of driveway on their site with those parking spaces. And so they are proposing to reduce that drive aisle. The one condition on that variance, however, is there needs to be 5 feet of green space or landscaped yard between the adjacent residential property and then those parking spaces. So they would have to reduce the number of spaces shown in that area by 1 or find an alternative location for the trash and recycling area, however they choose to do that. But the final site plan that comes in would need to show that 5 feet of green space there because they can't butt up right against that space. However, they only need to add 1 space because of grandfathered rights for all of the parking. So really only 1 space is needed, but they can add 2 and still make the green space requirement, or 3 if they move the trash and recycling somewhere else. The other notes that we pointed out just in the background is currently, and this is an existing condition, is the driveway is located all the way up to the public sidewalk there along 19th Avenue. And we are encouraging them to continue to work with staff to try to get some kind of buffer, whether that be a couple more feet of pavement into the site or looking at a slightly different configuration in that area to try to get green space. Excuse me?
Could you zoom out a little bit and get a little more of the plan showing on the screen?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
It's weird. It's full screen on this little monitor, so I assumed it was exactly what you were seeing. I apologize for that. So this is the area where the driveway is currently paved up to that property line along 19th Avenue. However, I will note we made it as an encouragement instead of a recommendation because none of these spaces actually meet the drive aisle width requirement. That's why there's so much grandfathered parking. They either meet the drive aisle requirement and have no parking, or they have parking without a correct drive aisle. And so if they were to reduce this, it would make it more difficult to get into those spaces. So we're just trying to encourage them to work with us. I will also just point out some of the changes that they're proposing to the site, or to the building, excuse me. And they have, there is actually a letter in your packets tonight from the neighborhood organization who is supportive of all of these applications. They have also given the property owner, who is different from the business owner, a $5,000 facade grant to rehab the exterior of the building. And so here you can see this is the Fillmore Street side of the building, and then this is the 19th Avenue side of the building. And what they're proposing to do then along Fillmore is add in windows with decorative canopies over it and a French door that leads out to what they're going to have as outdoor seating. So they are making some improvements to the building, adding a new cornice line, a new balcony balcony railing, I should say, and then painting the overall building and adding some new light fixtures. So that is what that facade grant that they've received is going to go towards. So those are really the changes that they're proposing, and if you want me to go into any more detail about the applications, I can. However, we are recommending approval of all of them subject to the conditions listed on the agenda.
Okay, well, let's see if there are any questions. Commissioner Brown?
Yep. Thank you. Hillary, I'm just wondering, in many instances, we've accommodated these isolated commercial uses in more residential areas through a change of non-conforming use application as opposed to a rezoning. In this instance, is there a reason you would recommend it for a full-fledged rezoning?
Yep, in this case, because of the beer and wine license that they would like to seek. So we did talk about both options when the applicants first came in, the change in non-conforming use or the rezoning. Because of the beer and wine, they would have to get that commercial zoning classification. So in this case, what our CPAD's advice to the applicant was, you do need to obtain the 2/3 consent signatures from the property owners that live within 100 feet of the property. So go talk to your neighborhood organization and go talk to your neighbors. They were able to get the consent signatures. Not that that's the only reason why we are recommending approval, but we do have comprehensive plan policies to support a rezoning this location. And the fact that the building has been commercially used for over 100 years, instead of having someone come and do a change of non-conforming use every time, it's recognizing that this building has been commercial for a long time and allowing the property owner to freely change it to uses that are allowed within that zoning classification.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. Stand by. We may have more later on.
Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing. If the applicant is here, I'm happy to hear from the applicant first. Come on up, give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Laura Bonicelli. I live at 1928 5th Street Northeast, Minneapolis. So I'm the applicant. I own a business called Bonicelli Fresh Meal Delivery, which is now coming up on 7 years old. We deliver all over the Twin Cities, made from scratch food, and want to develop this into a small restaurant space, deli store, so that we can cook more of our food and get it to more people in the neighborhood. I should note that the loan from the Wyndham Park Association is actually for $50,000, not $5,000. And that is dedicated to the outside of the building.
Okay, let's see any questions of commissioners. I don't see any. Thank you very much. Someone else did you have something to add to this, or you're just getting the map up for us? Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come on up and give your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Lauren Ignat, and I live at 1821 Fillmore Street Northeast, so right down the block. Firstly, I have to say I'm very excited about this difference, but have a couple questions. As we do have a little quickie mart, more of that style than a grocery store there right now, a lot of traffic is coming and going, so we don't see the same traffic issues as we would with a proposed 40-seat restaurant. So some of my concerns as someone that lives in the neighborhood, in a place where there are multiple family dwellings, we don't have very much parking on the street, and I wonder what the implications are of a 40-seat restaurant. So in that possibility of extra parking spots, that would be greatly appreciated in terms of people from the neighborhood. And then my other question is just the implications of the beer and wine license on the neighborhood in that way. So, but in terms of the use being different, it's something very exciting for the neighborhood, and I think could really change the amount of crime, frankly, that we see as a result of the Beeline being very close to the highway as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone else wishing to speak, come on up and give your name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Dave Leckleitner, and my address is 1847 Fillmore Street Northeast. So we are the house directly across the street from the proposed new business. In general, my partner, Josh Mortensen, and I have been in favor of this rezoning and business change since we heard rumors of it several months ago. We've actually met with Laura on several occasions. And just as a quick backstory, really as a point of reference from where we're coming from. So we moved to Northeast 3.5 years ago with the current Beeline Grocery as our neighbor to the north. And while the owners there have been very receptive, cooperative, and responsible, candidly, the patrons of the business have left a bad taste in our mouth with Flotsam and Jetsam of failed lottery tickets, half-drunk Gatorade bottles, and various other garbage that we fish out of our bushes and out of our lawn on a daily basis. So after that, obviously, a zoning change to an establishment that doesn't perpetuate such activities sounds like a boon to our yard and our sanity as well. We've discussed, as I mentioned, the proposed restaurant concept with Laura in person, as well as the owner of the property, and we believe in principle that it should improve the neighborhood in a number of respects. However, as I would concur with Lauren, there are several concerns that we would like to see addressed. Parking, of course, could potentially be a natural issue, especially in a mostly residential area. Our corner is especially unique in that the intersection is not a true cross-shaped intersection, and due to the nature of the store and the business and on-street parking, we're just very concerned about the availability of parking and what that will do in general to the traffic flow through that area. We would recommend to the zoning board and to Laura Bonicelli that they look at the availability of parking to mitigate any risk of undue traffic flow issues that might arise in the area. The second point of concern that we have is the outdoor grill concept. The outdoor grill seems to be a relatively recent evolution that has happened. And again, we do have concerns regarding this concept, both in terms of neighborhood air quality and fire safety. One of the inherent potential issues with outdoor grilling is, of course, the odors that would permeate throughout the neighborhood during the time that the grills are in operation. While we assume that Bonicelli will serve delicious and flavorful cuisine, we're just really concerned about the lingering odors that may permeate the area, and we would like to hear directly what measures would be taken to ensure the air quality in the neighborhood is not compromised. Finally, garbage and pest control. Although the B line does deal with foodstuffs, a restaurant that is preparing food can definitely create a different level of food and waste products, and those products could naturally attract vermin such as roaches, mice, and create, in addition, more street trash. We would just like to hear what plans are in place to ensure and make sure that these issues are addressed proactively. In conclusion, my partner Josh and I are definitely supportive of this rezoning and looking forward to the baton being passed to a new neighborhood business. But we would like first our small concerns addressed to keep the neighborhood a pleasant place to live.
Okay, sir, I'm wondering, were you at the neighborhood meeting where this was discussed? That would have been a good place to get these explanations. Well, we'll see if commissioners here care about want to ask about those questions. But
I was actually out of town.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm sure the applicant will be happy to chat with you about those concerns. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please come on up and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Joe Doig. I'm a local attorney and I live at 1926 Fillmore, which is on the other side of the block, and it's the last house on the other side of the block. And my main concern, because this is a neighborhood and there are children in the neighborhood and there are a lot of duplexes for rentals, is the parking. If they have table space for 40 people and they are going to have employees and they're going to have handicap parking and they're going to have trucks making deliveries, that the parking does, to say it's awkward at best is an understatement, but I think that there should be more parking provided. I don't think it's realistic to, excuse me, have so few spaces. Other than that, I think it's a great idea. It's definitely an improvement in the neighborhood from what presently exists in that location. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Come on up and give your name and address. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone. I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, we have 3 applications. Commissioner Brown?
I'll start off with a motion, and I will move approval of item A, the rezoning from R2B to C1.
May I have a second? Moved and seconded, the rezoning. Discussion?
I'll just very quickly add, I do think this rezoning makes a lot of sense. As I mentioned in my question, in the past, we've accommodated these type of uses through a change in non-conforming use process in a lot of instances. But I do think that it's clear that the urban neighborhood designation in the comprehensive plan allows for limited commercial. I think it is a good use for an older commercial building like this. It's unlikely that someone would use the entire building as a residential property. So I'm supportive of the rezoning.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Any other discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll on item A, the rezoning.
Bender? Brown? Forney? Gagnon? Gisselman? Lipke-Pierre? Slack? So that's 7-0.
Okay, the rezoning is approved. We have two variances. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, and I'll move approval of both items B and C. That is the variance for the enclosed building standards and the variance for the minimum drive aisle width.
Okay, move Moved and seconded. Discussion. Did you want to speak about that, Commissioner Brown? Okay, Commissioner Lipke here.
I mean, I just wanted to briefly, just really touch on the parking real quick. The issues, just to explain it to them. We are being asked to vote. The only thing that's related to parking is about the drive aisle width. And if we didn't approve their application to vary that minimum, you'd actually have less off-street parking. We aren't allowed to mandate that they have more parking than what's required. So not that we're ignoring your concerns, but please understand that when I'm voting in favor, I don't know how they're going to vote. When I'm voting in favor of this, it's because I want to encourage them to have as much as possible as reasonable, and this looks quite reasonable for this site. So, with the exception of that strip for landscaping. So, but I ignore you.
Any other discussion on the motion for the two variances? I don't see any. Thank you very much. Clerk, please call a roll.
Slack, Lipke-Peer, Kisselman, Gagnon, Forney, Brown, Bender, 7-0.
Okay, those two variances are approved. That concludes our action on item number 5, BZZ 693. And let's see, commission business. Do we have any announcements, Mr. Wittenberg?
No announcements, President Tucker, but I'd just like to thank you for your time as president of this commission. This is likely your last full public hearing as president, and I'll save the bigger speech for when it's the real farewell, because I think you'll be sticking around for a while, but you've really done a magnificent job in moving this commission forward in the right direction and running these meetings, and you will be missed in this role.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, this is my last meeting presiding over a public hearing. I may show up one more time just to run the election to find my successor, whoever he or she may be. But before I leave, I do want to thank my other commissioners for your lively but civil discussions. You're a good crew, and Vice President Matt Brown particularly for keeping our meetings efficient to the point, moving things along. I appreciate that a great deal. And to our clerk, Lisa Hughes, for keeping the record of our proceedings, even when I didn't speak into the microphone at the prescribed distance. And to all our planners, well, particularly Hillary, who seems to do all the work here, but for your diligence and patience. But pass that along to your colleagues, if you would. And to Jason for keeping me on the straight and narrow for 10 years and even chuckling from time to time at my little jokes. And of course, thank you to my 2 loyal fans on Channel 79. So with that, we are adjourned.